The way you speak about users, it's really good practice to not engage, in sort of what we often observe is a bit like that. Some security people like to bond with each other by bashing the users. It's a very, very common phenomenon in psychology, in group, out group, and that really is not helpful. It's a good idea to see them as a respectful partner. I mean, in some companies, we've really had this, sort of this first paper I published based on the study I just talked about was users are not the enemy, right? And so your staff, they are not the enemy when it comes to security. The enemy is the attackers out there. The first question should always be like, why aren't you doing this? What is and understanding why people aren't complying. And we always find it's like there's usually, there is friction, there is a problem. There's the worry that really staff see themselves in a situation where the loss of productivity seems to them the bigger threat to them and their personal situation, that they're not performing enough and performing well enough, and that they're fearing security is getting in the way and slowing them down. And of course, that needs to be addressed and needs to be just made very clear. The first real important insight is that we need secure behavior needs to be embedded in the routines that we do, and we need to make it a routine. And for that, just telling people, the whole behavioral science, behavioral economics research we've seen over the past 20 years has very, very clearly shown that just by telling people to change behavior, you're not going to change their behavior. You need it to embed it. It needs to become a routine and be embedded. And that requires more than just giving information and just making people aware of risks. I mean, we are finding in our research very often that it isn't complacency, that there are really obstacles, and there's friction and the fear of productivity that security just isn't done in a way that means they can behave in a secure way and still meet their productivity goals. That's always something that first has to be addressed. You can't leave your staff to decide between productivity and security. That's something the company needs to decide, and then you need to make sure that the security you're asking for can be that secure behavior can be done and productivity goals can still be met. That open dialogue with their employees, and they talk to their employees about security and why they're doing it, and they listen to when employees say particular behaviors aren't possible, and then they work together to find solutions, of actually really making security and efficient and embedding it very often by talking to employees or talking to line managers and so on. Those good solutions can be found. I think the opposite that I see is like that is when you get this approach when the people up there don't really want to get involved, they don't want to have discussions, they also often don't even listen to their security experts, who might be pointing out the need for certain changes and so on. And they just say, well, we'll just buy a training, I just want the minimum. I just want to tick the box to say I've trained people. And frankly, I don't care about whether the training is effective or not, as long as I can say I've done the training, I've done my, we can get the tick, and I've done my compliance, Most companies are they're undergoing a transformation, and they have to find resources. They have to find capabilities and capacities to make security happen, to embed it, to transform the system and embed it in every day. And that it's a leadership issue. It's not a purely technical issue. It's not a purely security expert issue. It's a leadership issue. And, if you talk to them and say, like, what we need to do, what we're doing here, this is a change management problem. And if you go to the change management frameworks, the leadership is the first thing they will tell you about. So don't let them pigeonhole the problem as a technical one.